Thank you to the Altman Foundation and Horace W. Goldsmith Foundation for helping make the PROJcast possible.
Yeah, nailed it.
Welcome to our show. Join our flow. It's the 52nd Street PROJcast.
From the heart of Hell's Kitchen, this is the PROJcast, a podcast created by the community at the 52nd Street Project. We're a nonprofit in New York City that partners the young people of Hell's Kitchen with professional artists. I'm John Sheehy, Director of Institutional Advancement here at the project. For this episode, we're highlighting the contributions of a couple of the teens who are graduating seniors this year. We have a fiction piece from our Radiomaking program this winter that's about the wonder and anxiety of being a teenager in love. We also have a conversation between a pair of smart partners as they reflect on their years-long relationship. Radiomaking introduces older project members to the art of telling stories through audio. The radiomaking pieces that you'll hear on this podcast were conceived, created, recorded, sound designed, and even performed by project members with support from adult volunteers. This winter, project member Tiniah created Prayer, a monologue and sound collage depicting a teen trying to escape the pressures of a bad day by dreaming about the memory of her first kiss. Please note, this piece does contain a couple of mild swear words. The piece itself is a little over 4 minutes long if you'd rather skip ahead. So now, here's Tiniah's Prayer.
Am I the only one who prays to God on what I wanted to dream about? I can't be the only one. Shit, you gotta admit dreams are sometimes better than reality, or maybe all the time. Anyway, every time I prayed on what I wanted to dream about, it happened. Every single time it happened. Like yesterday, I asked God if I can dream about reliving my first kiss all over again. It happened like this. I came home from school. I just was having a bad day. I'm a senior, so the I'm tired of this shit attitude has come into play. And I also have my period, so I'm not in the perfect mood, as you can tell. I plop on my bed and stare at the ceiling before my mother interrupts my solitude. Lucy, come eat. Your food is on the table. I'm not hungry. My mom comes into my room and asks 1,001 questions. What's wrong? Are you okay? Do you want to talk? I'm okay, Mom. I just need some space. Can you give me some space? Dear God, I'm having a bad day. Can you please just let me dream about something? I don't know. I guess something that would cheer me up. Is it wrong for me to ask you this? Sometimes I feel me asking you this means I haven't stepped into the reality of life. That life is not fair. When you have a bad day, you can't just escape it by dreaming just because it's better than reality. But sometimes I need a break, God. A break from everything. I just want to lay down and feel happy emotions. I don't know, maybe relive my first kiss at the Maroon 5 concert. Just something else that's better than what I'm feeling now. So it's like, wow.
That was Tiniah's monologue entitled Prayer from this winter's radiomaking program. Tiniah created this piece with the support of her volunteer adult partner, Sophia Zukowski. Composer Zonia Tsang supplied original music, and the performer was Cheney Waits. Many thanks to all these vols for helping Tiniah to create this piece. And now we have a Smart Partner interview. Smart Partners are pairs made up of one project member and one adult volunteer who meet weekly during the school year. These mentoring relationships can last for years, and the interview that we have today is from one such Smart Partnership. Justin and his Smart Partner Eric March recently had this chat to look back at where they started and to look ahead to what they expect the future to bring. As a little interesting side note, their names might sound familiar to regular PROJcast listeners because they are mentioned in the credits of each show, since they're the ones who created the PROJcast theme song. Here they are, Justin and Eric.
Hello, my name is Eric March.
Hello, I am Justin.
And Justin and I have been smart partners for going on 8 years now. It's a very long time. Justin and I met in 2011.
For the Block Island plays.
For the Block Island one-on-ones. And soon after that, we became smart partners. And we have been meeting each other once a week ever since. And Justin is about to go to college, which is very shocking and also great, but just very shocking.
And tiresome, but mainly shocking.
And tiresome.
Yeah.
That's the word I forgot. Anyway, Justin and I have prepared some questions for each other. Yeah, so I guess I wanted to ask you, what were your first impressions of me when we met on Block Island? I know that I was teaching you, probably the first time we really chatted was when I was teaching you a song.
Yeah, it was for Armor Trucks, the Armor Trucks song. That was like probably the first time. At the time at Block Island, like that was my first time like going away for a week. And I was like crying. I remember like during the third night I was sad and crying, and I just wanted to call my mom because I was like sad.
Yeah, that's hard. That's a hard place to be also because...
And I was like, that's what was like my first attraction. I was like, man, do you want to go home? I was like, no, I don't want to go home. I have to continue this. And I was kind of like pushed through. And I was like, as like the days continued onward, I kind of like got better and I kind of like grew over it. So yeah, that was like that was like, because when I met you, I was like in the back of my head, I was still like thinking about like home, while also trying my hardest to sing. So like, I guess technically my feeling was like, I was like not paying attention, like I was sidetracked.
Yeah, no, I get that. I understand. When I was about the same age when I went to sleepaway camp one summer for the first time, and I had a very similar experience. I was very, very homesick, and I wrote my parents a very, very sad letter asking them to come get me, and then like 2 days later, I was okay. And then, but they didn't get the letter for 2 days, so they got the letter and they called the camp, and I got on the phone with the camp, and I was fine, but they didn't really believe me because I wrote this like very, very
sad,
tragic letter. But I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed that, it's 10 years old is a hard time to go away from home. I'm really impressed that you push through it.
Yeah. Was there like, before we became smart partners, what was your overall thought? Like, this is kind of similar to your question. I was like, what was your overall like thought process of like meeting me or not meeting me again, or who your smart partner was going to be?
Yeah. Well, when I met you, it was an interesting group of kids because I remember.
Oh yeah.
It was a very like, I don't want to say rowdy is not the right word, but a very like kind of energetic, but also like a little edgy group of boys, I think is maybe the way I would put it diplomatically. It was sort of a group of boys that was like kind of at each other's throats a lot, and in that kind of like mean way that sometimes preteen boys can be.
Wait.
And I don't think, and you were not one of them. You and Daniel I remember were actually very, very kind and I could tell right away that you were a very deep thinker. That was sort of my very first impression of you, and that continues to be my like most like solid impression of you, is that I think of you as a very deep thinker and obviously a good performer. But that was my main first impression. And then when Liz asked me if I wanted to be a smart partner, I said yes, not knowing who I was going to be paired with. And then she told me that she had thought about pairing me with you, and I seemed like that might make sense. So I obviously said yes. So I was going to ask you how you feel. I mean, this is a kind of a loaded question for you. Maybe not loaded, but a big question for you, is that how do you feel like you've really, like, what are the ways in which you really feel like you've changed as a person in the past 8 years?
That's easy. So, one, if we're talking about physical, I got taller.
That's true. I can see that.
And if we're talking about mentally, like, I feel like I have matured a decent amount. Like, for example, like I was talking about beforehand, like when I was getting homesick, now I don't really get homesick as much. Like I probably call home just to make sure I like tell them like I'm okay, but in actuality, like I don't get homesick anymore. So I feel like I have changed. Like going like back then, I was like more like introverted when I was younger. Like this time, like I'm still introverted, but I can be extroverted as well. So it's just like I feel like I matured. That's like one of the things I realized after 8 years.
Yeah, I think you definitely have, and that obviously makes sense. But also, you're very close with your family, right? You have a very close relationship with your mom and your brother, right?
Yeah.
And I know that seemed like that was always the case, and that's still the case now, right?
Yeah. Also, I lost my train of thought. That's one thing that's changed. I lost my train of thought more. I lose my train of thought more often than when I was younger.
Interesting.
Yeah, because like when I was younger, I was like, I usually just remember it because I don't know why, but when you're younger, you hold on to things like more easily because you like want to say this thing. But like when I'm older, like now things sort of like slip out of my mind because I can easily forget things because I just think of like multiple things at once.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think when you're younger, there's some studies about how, you know, as you get older, and you're probably not there yet, but your short-term memory fades, but your long-term memory doesn't. That's why, like, you know, if you talk to elderly people, they can remember things that happened, you know, 60 years ago, but they can't remember where they put their keys.
Yeah.
You know, so that's
me a lot of times.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so is it me again?
It's you again.
I just keep on forgetting that. Okay, so this is like completely off topic, but like, when did you start playing piano?
When did I start playing piano? I started playing the piano when I was 5 years old. I don't remember why. You know, I was not one of those kids that was sort of forced by their parents to play the piano. I sort of took the initiative on my own. It might have been because they bought me a keyboard, or they might have bought me a keyboard because I said I wanted to play the piano. So I don't really remember. But for the first 2 years of my piano playing career, my dad taught me how to play. And my dad did not really know how to play the piano, but he had taken piano lessons as a child, so he taught me as far as he remembered. And then when I was becoming too advanced for what he remembered, I wound up taking piano lessons with a teacher who lived in my town, or who worked in my town, and going into there's sort of a music store there to learn piano. And he was really great. He was not like a sort of conventional piano teacher. You know, he taught me more or less how to play, you know, like a rock musician, and how to play like I was a piano player in a band. And through that, I sort of learned, I didn't learn great technique, but I learned how to just kind of play whatever. And that's how sort of I transitioned into composing, because I sort of knew from him like how things fit together in a song. So
cool.
That's how it went.
Okay, well, this is a question that was kind of off topic as well. Was there any one of the older, like 50, like when I mean the older, like the older 52nd Street Project members that you knew before volunteer, like Megan, or like
You mean the staff members?
staff members like Megan, Lisa, the older.
Well, the one I knew best was Megan. She was the associate artistic director. Yeah, she was the first one I met. And then, actually, that's not true. That's very funny. Years ago, when I was very young, not as young as you, but I considered myself very young back then.
Like 13 or 12?
No, like 23.
Oh.
In 2009, I wrote a musical. It was a very weird musical that was never seen before, has never been since. And I did a reading of this musical, and John, my director, knew John was a volunteer at the project and knew John Sheehy, thought he would be good in one of the roles, so she cast John Sheehy in one of the roles in the musical as a sort of like main bad guy. So I met John, not really knowing anything about the project. I met John. He was the very first person that I met, and then when I sort of got involved with the project, I sort of met him again in like this real context. So that was that's like a fun, weird connection that I think I had to the project before all this crazy stuff happened. So anyway, this is my last question for you. If you let's think about like, imagine like it's 5 years from now, so it's 2024, and you and I meet up somewhere in the city.
I'm really thinking.
In 5 years from now, what do you think that's gonna be like? Like, what do you imagine like you'll have to tell me at that point?
Probably tell you about college. Probably tell you about if I took loans. If I'm in debt. If I paid off said debt, or probably what type of job I have. Probably also talk about the upcoming election, because 2024, that'll be election year.
That's true.
So I'll probably be talking about the possible candidates for that. Probably, if you're 18 in 2024, listening to this recording, you should probably vote.
You should vote. That's actually a very important message. If you're listening to this podcast, the most important thing you can do next year is vote.
Okay, in 2024.
And then also in 2024, but definitely more pressingly in 2020, you should vote.
I'll probably talk about that, like participating in the vote, probably talk about the election, probably talk about what my job is, like I said before, what I do.
What do you think your job will be?
It's honestly kind of tough, because I know what I want to be, but it could probably easily not happen because it's a pretty popular job choice.
What do you want to be?
A lawyer.
So why don't you think you can be a lawyer?
No, I just said that there's like a possibility of me like being completely like something else in the same field.
That's true, yeah.
So that's why I was like, that's what I'm just saying, yeah.
But I actually have never asked you that before, and it's interesting because you are like one of the things you are best at is finding small inconsistencies in people's arguments and picking them apart. So I think you would be a great lawyer.
Thank you. I take that as a compliment. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. So, segue into like final statements. Anything else? Like any other questions or like any other ideas you want to say? Oh yeah, I'll say this. To the future smart partners and project members, I hope you enjoy your smart partnership and have an amazing time. There's a whole world out there waiting. There's a whole New York City full of rats waiting to be explored. So, yeah, try doing something new every day. You can always go outside. Go to a new place that no one has ever been to before. Instead of, like, chilling in Manhattan, you can, like, go all the way to Staten Island. Like, planning me to go to Staten Island and just take an image saying that we went to Staten Island. Do things like that.
Should we do that, by the way? Because we've never done that.
No, because I don't want to go to Staten Island.
Okay.
Staten Island. If you guys go to Staten Island, you got this. I wanted to just gonna leak this in.
I hope so. It was very entertaining.
Yeah.
I will say, here's my final statement, and I can't really improve on yours, but just that I think when I started this, I I guess I was worried about failing. This has just been like the greatest privilege in the world to get to know you and to spend time with you for the last 8 years, and to sort of hang out with you as you grew up. And I am just really excited to see what you do next, but no pressure.
Wow. So all I gotta say is, this is our segue to the concluding statement. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, wonderful afternoon, wonderful night, or whatever time period it is for you that you want to consider it. All we have to say is, goodbye.
Goodbye.
That was Justin in conversation with his smart partner Eric March. And if you're curious for more from Tiniah and Justin, as well as the rest of the teen ensemble, have we got the show for you. This weekend, Friday, June 21st and Saturday, June 22nd, in our own Five Angels Theater, we are presenting an original full-length devised play called Where the Knot Ends. The teens created this show from ideas and issues that they wanted to explore, and we're really proud of the work that they've done. You only have 2 chances to catch this first-of-its-kind show at the project before we take it on the road to California later on this month. Again, that's this Friday, June 21st at 7:30, and Saturday, June 22nd at 3 p.m. As always, these shows are free. Just head over to 52project.org to reserve your tickets. And now, for the credits. The project members featured in this episode were Tiniah and Justin. The volunteers featured in this episode were Eric March, Zonya Tsang, Janie Waits, and Sophia Zukowski. The PROJcast theme song, as previously mentioned, was created by Justin and his smart partner Eric March and performed by Marinda Anderson, Rebecca, and Nicole. The PROJcast logo was created by Iris Brown. Audio assistance from Jonathan Anderson, Avi Amon, and Brian Freeland. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search the 52nd Street Project and look for 5e and 2e in our logo. The 52nd Street Project is supported by public funds from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs and the New York State Council on the Arts. The 52nd Street Project is a nonprofit organization, and we're able to do what we do because of generous folks like you. Please go to our website, 52project.org/donate, to check out how you can support us. Every little bit helps. We hope to see you all at Where the Knot Ends this weekend, and we look forward to coming back to you soon with more of the PROJcast.
See you next month.
Wait,
Nothing rhymes with month. On the 52nd Street PROJcast.